You know, when we think of the story of Avram and his nephew Lot, it's easy to just see it as a family squabble over land. But what if I told you it's actually this profound case study in character, where one single choice completely changes the game for two different destinies?
So get this, it all kicks off with a really strange problem. Abram and Lot, they're traveling together, they're working together, and they become just wildly successful. In fact, they're so successful that their shared wealth becomes the very thing that's going to tear them apart. And the text is super clear about this. It says the land literally could not handle them living together because their stuff, their substance, was just that massive. There was no way for them to coexist anymore. It really sets the stage for a conflict that was, let's be honest, pretty much bound to happen. Okay, so to really understand what's going on, we have to look at where all this wealth came from in the first place, especially how Lot got so rich. The text makes a point to tell us that Lot, who went with Avram, also had all this stuff: flocks, herds, tents, the whole shebang. Now, the great commentator Rashi points out that this isn't just some throwaway detail. Oh no, it's the key. Lot's wealth was a direct result of him tagging along with Avram. His success was basically a gift from his uncle's good fortune. And right here, this is where all that success starts to go sour. A fight breaks out, and believe me, it is not just about where the sheep can eat. No, this is a deep, fundamental clash of values. So the scripture tells us that the shepherds from both camps started fighting. On the surface, sure, it looks like a logistics problem, right? Not enough grass to go around. But underneath all that, a really nasty moral rot was setting in. So what was this really all about? I mean, come on. Was it just a bunch of employees arguing over company resources? Not a chance. The real fight was about something much bigger: ethics, right and wrong. And this is where Rashi just brilliantly breaks down the whole argument. He says, look, Lot's shepherds were basically stealing. They were letting their animals graze in fields that belonged to other people. And when Avram's shepherds called them out, they had this slick excuse ready. They said, hey, this land was promised to Avram, and he doesn't have any kids, so our boss Lot is going to inherit it all anyway. We're not stealing, we're just claiming our inheritance a little early. But that logic was completely bogus. The text goes out of its way to say the Canaanites and Perizzi were still living in the land. Avram hadn't taken possession yet. It wasn't his to give, and it sure wasn't Lot's to take. So this ethical breakdown, it just brings everything to a boiling point. Avram sees what's really going on, and he steps in to fix it. And the solution he comes up with, well, it forces a choice that is going to reveal everything about these two men. Just look at Avram's opening move here. It's not about property, it's not about who's right, it's about their relationship. We are brethren. He puts their family bond above everything, just pleading for peace. And then Avram makes this unbelievably generous offer. He's the senior guy, the patriarch, and he gives his nephew first pick. He says the whole land is here, you choose. You go left, I'll go right. You go right, I'll go left. So what does Lot do? Does he think about it? Does he say, no, uncle, you choose? Nope. The text says he immediately lifted up his eyes and started scanning for the best, most valuable piece of real estate he could find. Okay, so this is crucial. What was driving Lot's choice? Well, he saw this plain that was so lush, it was like the Garden of Eden. It was as fertile as Egypt, the breadbasket of the ancient world. It was prime territory for getting even richer. But there's a darker side to it. Rashi's commentary adds this absolutely shocking insight. Lot didn't choose this place in spite of the fact that the people there were wicked. He chose it because of it. He was actually drawn to their immoral lifestyle. And just like that, Lot makes his choice. With that one decision, their paths don't just split geographically, they split spiritually, ideologically, and permanently. The text puts it so simply, doesn't it? And Lot journeyed east. Just 3 words, but wow, do they carry a ton of weight. This was so much more than just a change of address. So an ancient commentary, a midrash, that Rashi quotes, gives this absolutely stunning take on that phrase. Journeying east wasn't just a direction on a compass. It was symbolic. Lot was moving away from the originator of the universe. He was basically saying, I'm out. I want nothing to do with Avram, and I want nothing to do with his God. And I mean, look where they ended up. It says it all. Avram stays in the land of Canaan, right in the heart of the promise. But Lot, he doesn't just settle in that rich valley. He actively pitched his tent toward Sedom, a city that the Bible immediately points out was filled with wicked and sinful people. He's leaning in.
So, the split is official, and in the immediate aftermath, you see the consequences just unfold. It's this stark contrast between Lot's new path and the incredible reward Avram is about to receive.
Now, this is a critical detail, and Rashi really hones in on it. For as long as Lot, the wicked one, was hanging around Avram, the divine communication went silent. But the second he leaves, God's voice is back. That negative influence had to be gone before the blessing could flow.
The sequence here is just crystal clear. You can draw a straight line. Lot chooses money over morality and moves towards Sodom. Avram chooses peace and family, stays put. And as a direct result, he gets this world-changing promise from God.
And the promise is absolutely staggering. God tells Avram, "Lift up your eyes, look north, south, east, west. Everything you can see. I'm giving it to you and to your descendants forever." The very land Lot was so eager to grab a piece of, God just promised the whole thing to Avram.
But it gets even bigger. The promise isn't just about land, it's about legacy. God says his descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth, so many you couldn't even begin to count them. It's just mind-boggling.
So how does Avram react to this unbelievable news? Does he throw a party? No. He does what he always does. He moves his tent, he settles in, and the first thing he does is build an altar to God. His character is just rock-solid consistent, peaceful, humble, and full of faith.
So at the end of the day, it all came down to one single moment, one choice. Abram chose relationship, and Lot chose real estate. And that one choice just echoed through history, defining both of their legacies forever. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? When we face our own crossroads, what are we lifting our eyes up to see?